Good afternoon, Elizabeth. Thank you for being with us today. Welcome to the committee. We've got you for 10 minutes this afternoon, so I'd invite you to present your submission.
Oh, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to present. I'll speak for 5 minutes and then I'll take questions. What is the best title given to any New Zealand legislation? My money is on the 1877 Education Act. It's an act to make further provision for the education of the people of New Zealand. So as early as the 1870s, there's a commitment to a united people belonging to and benefiting from the nation New Zealand. Nearly 150 years later, that commitment is under serious threat from those who would replace liberal democracy with tribal sovereignty, and by doing so, will create a racialized society, apartheid. Consider the two words, liberal, democracy, and their connection. Both give us something that none of our ancestors living in tribal kinship groups had. Democracy gives us a system of parliamentary sovereignty, of law, of regulation. It recognizes that our common humanity justifies equal rights. Those rights belong to the individual citizen, not to the group. The word liberal gives us the freedom to be different, either as individuals and in voluntary associations based on shared interests, which could include heritage, culture, language, sport, politics, religion, music, and so on. That is what makes liberal democracy remarkable. As citizens, we have the same political and legal rights. As members of civil society, we are free to be different. This is an enormously important point. It's the combination of rights, responsibilities, and freedom within democracy's governance and laws that makes the modern world vibrant and prosperous. That's why I support the Treaty Principles Bill, because it provides a coherent and succinct statement capturing what liberal democracy is. Something we should all know, especially members of Parliament who represent us, the people of New Zealand. First world nations need liberal democracy's creative tension. It's an invigorating tension between rights, responsibilities, and between having the same rights and having the freedom to be different. The bill is the symbolic link to the hope found in both the 1840 Treaty of Waitangi and in the 1852 Constitution Act. 19th century New Zealanders, especially those who had been slaves, decimated by war, of low genealogical birth status, or from impoverished backgrounds, they put their faith in a peaceful and prosperous future for their descendants. In the 21st century, we can strengthen this faith for our descendants by agreeing to the principles in this bill. New Zealand's future may be that of a prosperous first world liberal democracy or a third world retribalized state.
Yes.
A first world tribal nation is a contradiction in terms. It is not possible. There can be no prosperity without individual equality and freedom. There can be no social equality without prosperity. We are at a very serious crossroads. The value of the bill is that it not only forces us to confront this fact, but allows us to do so within the parliamentary select committee process, rather than through cultural posturing intimidation, or perhaps even violence. The very existence of the bill is liberal democracy in action. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. We've got a few questions lined up. The first one's from Dr. Webb, and then Takata, and then Timothy.
Well, kia ora, thank you, Mr. Chair. I was fascinated that you used the Education Act of the 1870s as an example of liberal democracy. I'm assuming you've read it and you know that free and compulsory education wasn't available to Māori children until the 1890s, and that act only applied to Pākehā children. In light of that, I'm perplexed with your stance that there shouldn't be any kind of distinction or special duty to Māori, given the fact that the full rights of participating in a democracy were only just given, 100 years ago.
Is there a question in there, Dr. Webb?
Yeah, there was. My question was quite clearly stated. Can you explain, given that Māori weren't given the rights of full citizenship in our liberal democracy, why it is that you seem to say there should be no differentiation in treatment between Māori and Pākehā?
Māori had government-provided education from the 1867 Native Education Act. The 1877 Act included everyone, except there was a provision for those who did not want to be compelled to attend government schools not to go. So you had the tribes of the north, the east coast, south and so on, very keen to establish schools. But that exemption recognised that there were some groups, particularly, of course, Waikato and Taranaki, who were opposed to the government, given what had occurred during the land wars. That exemption enabled them not to have to send their children to school until the exemption was removed in 1903. Now, you will be aware, surely, that the 1877 bill had a number of exemptions. There were exemptions for children based on geographical locations, who couldn't get to school in some cases. There were exemptions for children with disabilities. There were a number of exemptions. And what I think that shows is something we see in the New Zealand character, which is an interesting combination of idealism and pragmatism. So throughout the 1877 Act, you will see a number of exemptions. Secularism, for example, there are other exemptions. And I think that is very much part of the tolerance required in a liberal society. There will always be some people who will simply refuse to do what the law says. And the pragmatic part of being a New Zealander is that our laws often have exemptions.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I think that's well addressed. We'll go to a question now from Takata Ferris.
Kia ora, Elizabeth. I'm sure you'll recognise and agree with me that Māori had pre-existing rights before anyone else showed up. So my question to you is, where did those rights fit into the liberal democracy idea? And just secondly, can you identify for us all one modern-day colonial society where the Indigenous people have thrived under the liberal democratic idea?
Oh, thank you. Yes, quick answer to your two questions. The first one is that in pre-colonial New Zealand, slaves did not have rights, nor did low caste tribal members. Now, in response to your second question, my answer would be New Zealand. Have a look at the burgeoning Māori middle class. Have a look at the numbers. Right from the 1960s, there has been a steady increase in the numbers of Māori moving into the middle class, who are doing very well, which is excellent.
Okay, thank you, folks. That's the time we've got for the session today. I just want to extend the committee's thank you, Elizabeth, for joining us and providing your submission.